I'm so excited for you. Man, do you just wake up with I can't wait to see what today brings?
Yes, Karen, I wake up every single day. I thank the Lord for another day, and I just get straight with myself and with Him at that point. I always have an agenda when I wake up and full of gratitude and thankful because I get to live a life that was destined for me. I'm not living someone else's life anymore. I proved that I can do that, be very successful. I made a lot of money. That was the definition of this world's success. I'm doing something far greater now.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's show. We have on Mary Grothe. She's a national sales speaker, keynote speaker, sales coach, and a mentor to others. She's helping companies all over the country increase their revenue by improving their sales. Hey, I'm Karen. I'm a former CPA, entrepreneur, business consultant with big ideas, and I'm the mom.
I'm Katie. I'm a payroll specialist, business owner, and detail-oriented person that makes things happen, and I'm the daughter. Welcome to Cheers to Business.
All right, we're so happy today to have Mary Grothe calling in. Hey, Mary.
Good morning.
I know you're a long way from us right now.
A long way away. Probably 1,500 miles?
Yeah, where are you right now?
In Denver.
Oh, okay, great. Now, Mary, I first met you in Denver at a Payroll Vault conference, and you and I just kind of hit it off, and your history totally amazes me. You actually, at age 22, started for Paychecks, is that right?
I did. Yeah. I was a young little pup back then. Didn't have a college degree, never had a professional career. I didn't know anything.
I think I read it was like $13 an hour.
I was so excited for that $13 an hour. That was amazing. I really felt like I made it.
I know, that's crazy to think back, isn't it? But you became the number one sales rep in the country for Paychecks.
I did. I had 2 years as an admin assistant, and that meant I did administrative work and I supported the sales team. I had 8 sales people on the team and a sales manager. I did all the dirty work, spreadsheets, updating the CRM, communicating with operations, helping with the sales kickoffs and meetings, all the administrative function of it. And I knew within just a few months of being in that role that I had my eye on being in sales. But I was so young. I didn't know anything. I didn't have a degree. I had no formal training, but I had a good manager. And he told me exactly what I needed to do to earn that spot. And I did. 2 years as an admin. I got the promotion onto the mid-market sales team and became the number one rep in 30 days and maintained that title. I actually had the opportunity to work for Paychecks for 8 years.
Wow, that's an amazing story. What's some of the things he told you? What can you tell? Because one thing I wanted to talk about today was going from that employee to salesperson, and now you own your own business, which we're going to talk about too.
Yes, he just showed up. He showed up every day, and I mean that in a lot of different ways. He was a mentor to me, not just with the words that came out of his mouth, but by modeling his own actions and how he conducted himself and ran the team. As a very young, impressionable 22-year-old, I saw in myself, I guess I saw in him who I wanted to be in the future. And there are things that really stood out to me on how he conducted himself. One, he always dressed to impress. And I didn't understand the importance of physical appearance and how well you put yourself together. And I'm not saying you need to go crazy and go get plastic surgery. I mean, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just physically great appearance, sharp dress, clean cut, and well put together. I looked at how he conducted himself in moments of excitement and when the team was winning, and also in moments of adversity. I watched him conduct himself in moments when there were operational struggles or we had challenges with newly implemented clients, maybe something went awry, and how he handled that. I watched how he navigated through conversations when people were upset. And there was so much power in how he showed up to the role, so much professionalism. And for me, that really stood out because I was young and I didn't necessarily have the best upbringing. I grew up with pretty crazy alcoholic, abusive parents. And so the right behavior wasn't modeled for me growing up. I had a mom that flew off the handle, was easily triggered, extremely emotional, easily worked up, and used very colorful language, just not appropriate, not professional. And that was what was modeled for me my entire upbringing. And so I would say that I had some of those tendencies within myself. And I got to see this manager conduct himself in what I just thought was the most professional aspect ever. And that was powerful to me. So not only how he dressed and physical appearance, but how he spoke, how he led, how he communicated, and most importantly, how he dealt with those adverse situations.
That's amazing. After I met you, I looked you up a little bit. I'm not a stalker, I promise. But, I love how you say dress the part, speak the part, and be the part.
100%.
Yeah. It's about what you present to others, but also being true to yourself at the same time, I think.
It is. It is. I'm a big fan now of what I would refer to as being in alignment with your values. And I'm a Christian woman. I became a Christian later in life. And as I referenced, I had a pretty awful upbringing. And it took me years to rebuild myself from the inside out. And part of that became my faith. And I had a lot that had to be reworked with what my mission was in life. Originally, I was just trained and taught that money was king and money solves all the world's problems and to go be as successful as humanly possible. And so I had a lot of inner conflict in how I was showing up because I had the DNA of who I was and how I was raised. And I had a competitive spirit that I necessarily didn't control. And unfortunately, I steamrolled over a lot of people. I wasn't always the nicest person. I had a little bit of a mouth on me. And it took me a lot of years to realize through tremendous success as a number one salesperson and very young. I was earning hundreds of thousands of dollars a year when my friends were still like living together in a studio apartment and could still not even pay their bills. And it was just such a lifestyle difference, but I wasn't the person I wanted to be. And it took a few years of undoing all of that and truly identifying of who I wanted to be as a person. And I'm so thankful that in my mid 30s now, I can't believe that. I used to say early 30s, but I'm not early 30s anymore. I just turned 36 and it's so weird.
You're a puppy. You're a puppy.
In my mid 30s, I just feel so much stronger in how I serve people and how I help them achieve their goals, and how I show up is so different. I show up for the people around me now. I don't show up for myself. And I think that by doing that, I'm serving a purpose that's greater than anything I could ever do for me alone. And now that's translating to dozens, potentially hundreds. I mean, I think through the work that I get to do now, I have an opportunity to impact thousands, which is just shocking to me. But that's a big responsibility. And so I do show up very different today than how I had in the past.
And, speaking as a 54-year-old, that will continue to evolve. I can promise you with that mindset, it will continue into your 40s and then in your 50s. And I think the 40s were great. In my 40s, have you ever used affirmations?
Yes.
Holy cow. So I have this brilliant older lady who is my friend, Dr. Alice Frederick, and she was helping me go through a bad time, and it was changing careers like I haven't done that before. And she said, find the words that mean of what you want to be. So I thought, and I had a book on affirmations, and mine was, I am a fair, honest, confident adult. An adult meaning that I react like an adult, not like a child, and from my childhood, which I can identify with. And so I said, I'm a fair, honest, confident adult all the way to work for 30 days. And then I started saying it on the way home, and I started to believe it. And even though I act like a child, according to my daughter now, I'm just having fun with that. But yeah, to act like an adult and to react without explosion it's a big thing to overcome. And I don't, but it can be done.
It can. So I went through a really similar exercise and was able to dissect what was really holding me back, because there was a really big transitional period when I had this entrepreneurial fire inside of me and I knew I wanted to do something greater. I knew I was destined for something greater, but I had those golden handcuffs being a top performer, and I'm the breadwinner for my family. And I married the most beautiful, handsome, lovely man, and he's my blue collar man. He's my complete opposite, which is why I think we love each other so much and get along so well. And I knew that he didn't have those ginormous career aspirations. He wasn't going to be that huge income earner, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I know that I came from that life, and I know that I'm capable of being a high income earner and being very successful, and I want my family to have that life. And so it was very scary for me to step away from the golden handcuffs of being a top producer for a Fortune 1000 company, which of course, Paychex just has a remarkable comp plan. They just took such good care of me as a top producer. And how did I step away from that? And I realized that I had so much fear that I couldn't do that on my own. So my affirmations, and this is funny, Karen, it reminds me of that video with that little girl talking in the mirror to herself. I am beautiful. I am smart. I think about that. So I coached through a phenomenal person that helped me identify what my affirmations needed to be. And for me, I needed to believe that I'm a remarkable person and that it's okay that I have talent and it's okay that I'm different than other people. And I just always kind of shamed myself for that because I was afraid to be better than other people or admit that maybe I have more talents or different talents that position me differently. And it was very hard for me to stomach that. And so he got me saying that to believe I'm a remarkable person. And the next thing was that I love people. That was very different. That's not how I was raised. I was raised watching parents put down every single person around me, including family members and including myself. I was not raised to believe that people were lovable and that they should be loved, including myself. And so that was a big working to believe that I am capable of loving other people and other people deserve love from me. And then the next one was I have the answers. I have the answers within myself. And I need to trust myself that even in those moments when I'm uncertain and I'm unsure, I can't get triggered. I need to just look internally and believe in myself that I am a smart person and I know how to troubleshoot and I know how to solve problems. And the last part was I don't have to worry. And that's really where my faith comes in. And that's different for me because I used to carry the weight of the world. Like I was responsible for everything and everyone. And that's just not the truth. And I tell myself, I do not have to worry. I do not have to worry. This is not my burden. This is not my burden.
You know what we say down south, don't you? You know
what?
It's not my monkey. It's not my zoo.
Is that seriously what people say?
Well, me, I don't know. But I love your story because 33 years ago, I was in a bar and I met this good-looking guy. And June will be 32 years. And he calls me a freight train because I will never find another man who loves me as much as he does. And he's always there when I get home from whatever I'm aspiring crazy thing to do or move or jump ventures or jump lifestyles and put our house at risk. So I so identify with that. And I tell you what, those strong men in our lives who are willing to let us shine, hey, kudos to them.
Oh my gosh, you're making me cry.
I know. I teared up while you were talking.
It's so true. I'm going to have to just squeeze him extra hard tonight and tell him that, you're always here when I come home. Boy, isn't that the truth. And boy,
I forget to tell him. And it's so wrong for the people. So, all these business owners out there while you're working 90 to nothing. And, I think we forget to say thank you to the people that are allowing us to do this. I wouldn't have my CPA without my sister and my husband because he was working offshore. He was gone 2 weeks out of 3. If it weren't for my sister, I wouldn't have my CPA and I wouldn't be sitting here today. So thank you, Katrina. I just needed to say that.
It's amazing.
So you jumped, and I've done the jump. Tell us about your venture going on now. It's so exciting.
Oh boy, did I jump. Holy smokes. And I love when I have those moments in my life where I feel it's almost a numb and tingly feeling where the only thing I can have is faith because I don't have a controllable that I'm used to that's familiar for me. And there's so much excitement in that moment. But I also am very high urgency and very fast paced. I don't waste time. I get things done. Even if it's not 100% correct on the first pass, it sure is something and it's pretty good. And there's nothing wrong with iterating. I think that some people get frozen when they're trying to build the perfect plan and they delay and they stall and they don't do anything because
That doesn't
they're just not sure of
exist.
what it should be.
They don't,
It's not good.
yeah, you have to continue if especially if it's not perfect. You have to keep going. If you stall waiting for it to be perfect, it will never happen.
No, it will never happen. And I hear that feedback a lot from people around me, other entrepreneurs. They say your ability to troubleshoot, solve problems, and just move on to the next thing at lightning speed. I know that's a very admirable quality to a lot of people. And when I started Sales BQ, and BQ stands for the behavioral quotient, I knew that if I was going to start a sales consulting, recruiting, and training firm, we had to do it different than others before us because I was entering into an industry that has a reputation. And the reputation in our industry is most of my peers are much older. They're at the end stage of their career. They've done remarkable things. Their resumes, their college degrees, their MBAs, their bought and sold companies, taken in public, huge exits, or been a VP of sales with a 300-person sales or whatnot. I'm up against really steep competition. I'm also up against New York Times best-selling authors that have 10, 20, 100, whatever books on sales. And so they're highly sought after. They're paid $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a Keynote, whatever that crazy number is. And they have all this online sales training and they're just making millions, right? And they're very, very well known. Well, I didn't have any of that. But I believe in myself and I believe in the work that we do. So how was I going to create this? And so that was the first thing I did is I tasked myself with showing up to the market different than other people to making sure that we had a competitive edge. Because I do believe that that is a way when you're starting a company, if you want to fast track yourself on growth, be different than your own competition, make it easy for your buyer to say, I get you. I know what you're doing, and I think that's really powerful, and make it really easy for them to buy. That's your quickest way to get into revenue. So for me, I went to 3 of my CEO friends. I said, I've got this crazy idea where I want to be what's called a fractional VP of sales. I want to take over your sales department part-time on contract for a period of maybe 6 months, and I want to turn them around. And I think that I can handle about 3 sales departments, and I just want to beta test this. So tell me what I would need to do for you to justify paying me a few $1,000s a month. And I beta tested that, and I came out of the gate just really looking to replace my income. Just kidding, not replace my income, just replace enough of it that my family wouldn't feel too much of a dip. And so I went to 3 brave CEOs that said yes. I did about a 3-month pilot program with them, worked out a whole lot of kinks and figured out, okay, this is the service offering. And then we officially launched to the market. So that was 2017. We officially launched to the market in 2018. And starting in May, I started growing out a team. So for the first 4 months, it was just me, and it was 100-hour work weeks, and it was 7 days a week, and it was just nonstop. Thank you to my husband. And then after I started growing the team, we started having those challenges of how do you scale? How do you replicate? How do you take the founder who's great at what they do and really embodies this and find people that can execute at the same level? And that was hard at first to figure out how we keep the levels the same. Didn't have our hiring strategy quite down. But by the time we got to the end of 2018, we closed at $500,000 in revenue. We had the opportunity to serve I believe I'd have to go look at the stats. Maybe it was about 35 or about companies or sales departments, as we refer to it as, and had our hand in training, coaching, developing, rewriting their processes, recruiting for them. And when 2019 came around, I said, I'm ready to go big. And we got an office space. We converted this old industrial warehouse into this gorgeous sales training center. We also have bi-level offices. Our team had grown to 10 people. We expanded our offerings. We just kept fine-tuning what we were doing. I got to be on some pretty big stages for keynotes and speaking, and that really helped boost our business overnight. In fact, one keynote was so huge that our business tripled overnight, and it was really a remarkable experience. So we were able to, now we're closing out 2019 about 3x in revenue of what we did our first year, actually just over. And we're very fortunate to have had this experience. We now have 12 people working for the company. And this year we worked with 50 sales departments, and every one of them grew revenue. It was so exciting to see what happened. Some of them had tremendous growth, 2x, 3x. Some of them, we just haven't been there long enough yet to see that turnaround. But ultimately, our CEOs were just very fortunate to have somebody come in, take over the revenue growth. And as we head into 2020, we're going to be focusing on all things revenue. It's called Rev Ops. That's the new term, revenue operations. That's marketing, sales sales operations and customer service. So as we launched into 2020, we're now a fully outsourced model for all of those and handling that for companies.
I'm so excited for you. Man, do you just wake up with I can't wait to see what today brings?
Every day.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just wake up and I thank the Lord for another day, and I just get straight with myself and with him at that point. I always have an agenda when I wake up, and I just ask for that to be cleared. And I just make sure that my agenda is his agenda, and I've got my head on straight for the day. And I'm just okay when things maybe don't come out to my plan, because there's always something far greater than what I ever plan out for myself. So yes, Karen, I wake up every single day extremely fortunate, full of gratitude and thankful, because I get to live a life that was destined for me. I'm not living someone else's life anymore. I proved that I can do that, be very successful. I made a lot of money. That was the definition of this world's success. I'm doing something far greater now.
Do you have different sales advice for a small business or one of the big 500 businesses? Is it different sales advice? Okay, so all right, so we know you can do it all. I know. I'm so pleased to know you. But what kind of advice can you give our listeners? What do you tell those small businesses that are starting out or who have jumped, who've done what you and I have done? I've jumped. You jumped. Mm-hmm. And it's so much faith driven, because I love the theory that God wants us to succeed. And
yes.
So, because then you can help more people. But what do you tell those small businesses that are searching for salespeople, or they're great at what they do, but they're just not salespeople?
Well, that's a big loaded question. I'll try to not give you the Mary Grothe answer. I'll give you the concise answer. The greatest advice I can give a small business owner that's venturing into growing their revenue, that can look very different. One, get your own sales process down. Get a process, because if you go to grow and bring on another person, you can't scale chaos, and you can't scale, I don't know, this is just how I've done it. That's not an answer. That's not a playbook. That's not a process. You've got to get it written down and documented, because people will never be as smart as you. People will never sell as well as you sell. So there's something called the founder sale or the CEO sale. No one will ever sell it as great as you do. And I'm not saying that you're the world's greatest salesperson. You have clout, because you're the owner of the company. People will buy from you at a different level because they will innately trust you more, because you're the owner. So you can actually get away with being a mediocre salesperson because you know the details, the goods, and you're more trustworthy. When you look at the trust equation for sales, so I believe that when a salesperson walks in, they have a perceived self-interest by their buyer, meaning their buyer looks at the salesperson and says they have an agenda, and it may not be with my best interest in mind. So there's a perceived self-interest that the salesperson has. The only way to lower that is with the salesperson proving out credibility, business intelligence, or business intimacy, and building that relationship with the customer to where they feel undeniably that the buyer's agenda comes before the salesperson. And that's the trust equation. So when you look at, if you can just imagine right now a fraction, on the top, you have credibility and business intelligence over perceived self-interest, and that is the trust equation. So if you think about how much business intelligence and credibility an owner or CEO or founder has when they walk into a sales conversation, the perceived self-interest is much lower. Therefore, the trust is greater, and it's easier to get the sale. But when a salesperson comes in, the perceived self-interest is so high. And if they don't have the learnings from you on the credibility and that business intelligence in order to win over that prospect or that buyer, it's going to be an uphill battle. The other thing that I want to make sure that business owners and CEOs are aware of is that you're a 100. You're 100%. You are a 100. You are on top of your game. You are brilliant. You are talented. And you have what it takes to run a company, which is huge. The majority of people in this world are not a 100. Yet when we go to make our first sales hire and we want to bring on somebody, a sales hire is very expensive. They're unpredictable. And boy, is it scary when you don't get it right, because it's very expensive to the business. But you're never going to find a 100 as a salesperson. On their best day, your best salesperson is probably going to be a 75 of what you are. On average, they're probably going to be about a 50. And when you think about that salesperson, you have a responsibility of grooming them and imparting as much wisdom and mentoring them and building them up to be a 75. But just know that they're never going to be able to sell as great as you. And something will happen, right? As people mature in their careers, just like I did, Karen, just like you did, we grow up over time. And some of us have what it takes, those skills and talent and that DNA and that grit and perseverance to be that 100 that we will be. But don't expect that person to be working for you. They're going to go start their own company. 100s run their own companies. Expect a 75. So when you go at looking at revenue generation and building it out, the thing that you need to do is get a process and a methodology in place that makes sales as predictable and scalable as possible. Shelling out a huge salary and bringing on somebody that maybe has great experience or a great track record in the past, it doesn't mean that that can be replicated with you. We follow a process called RPAC, which is role match, proven achievement, acumen, and culture fit. You've got to make sure that your candidate fits all 4 of those. And you also have to be willing to have patience and grace in the beginning, because people coming into your environment, salespeople are loud. They can be sloppy. I say that with love because I'm a salesperson and I know I can get sloppy in my work. I'm not as detail oriented as I could be. But if you're bringing in a salesperson to a professional environment where you may have introverts and quiet people, that salesperson might, rub people the wrong way. They might be tough to manage. So you just have to have a lot of grace in that and know that it's a huge first step into bringing on that first sales hire.
I cannot tell our listeners what brilliant advice that is. And I heard you. I'm listening to you. So as I'm learning today as well. So I can't thank you enough. So what's the goal? What's next?
Who, for me?
Yeah. Do we know what the next step is? I like to say I'm riding that magic carpet of faith.
Yeah, that's what I am. I just show up every day and I want to be a good and faithful servant. And that's it. I was gifted talents and I'm in a right place of mind this chapter of my life. And I know that will continue to progress and be better. I'm here to serve. I'm here to love. And I know that my talents will align with that. And if people's lives are better because I'm in it, then I've lived.
Well said. Mary, can I have a rain check for you to come back on the show sometime in the future?
I would love nothing more.
Oh, you know what? Tell about your podcast. You have one online. People can find you. You don't need me.
Oh, you got to come on ours. It's the Quota Crusher podcast, and we are in our first year in the podcast. We do not have thousands of downloads like you, Karen, but we will get there.
That's because of Katie. That's all because of Katie.
We're on our way, but something cool. We did get nominated by Top Sales World as top podcast for this year, specific to sales. And it is absolute quota crushing advice. So for salespeople specifically, jump on that. You can find that podcast online, but it's also just at salesbq.com/podcast.
Now they should reach out to you on LinkedIn too, because you give great tips. I think you put out number 118 I saw yesterday.
That's right. Yeah. Find me on LinkedIn and you can follow SalesBQ and me on there. I will definitely connect with you. As long as you're not creepy and weird looking. I'm just kidding. I will connect with you. And lots of tips there. All
right. Mary, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I tell you what, I wish you the most success ever. And cheers to sales.
Aw, thank you. And cheers to you, Karen.
All right. We're going to put links out on when we publish a show on social media and around. So we'll have links to Mary's podcast and all her sites so that, keep learning. Don't stop here. Make your business better, and sales is a huge part of that. Mary, I'm so proud of you as an older person to a younger mid person, but I tell you what, I wish you the most success, and I know you've got this. You've got the faith, and thank you so much for coming on the show today. And can I be your friend? Can I be your friend?
Forever.
All right. I can't wait to see you again.
Likewise. Thank you.
Please be sure to subscribe to Cheers to Business podcast on iTunes or anywhere else that you get your podcast. Visit our Facebook and be sure to give us a like. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to discuss, shoot us an email from the website cheerstobusiness.com.